Hey, greetings everyone. It is Thursday, April 25th, and it's actually a beautiful day out. Now, by the time you get this update, it will probably be evening, but, well, it's a beautiful day, so I thought I'd mention it. Before we get to the update that everyone is waiting for, obviously the BSC edition of Stealth, two things I want to talk about. First, it's been a great 3 days for our Kickstarter. You've seen the number of pledges, you've seen the dollars donated. Everything is going great. So obviously, folks, just keep doing what you're doing, keep bringing in more people. We have more interviews going up. I hope everyone saw that wonderful piece that Robert Purchase wrote on Eurogamer. If you haven't, head over to Eurogamer.net and check it out. But couldn't be happier. Second thing, last night's update on the lore had some interesting reactions. Apparently almost everyone liked it, though there was some concern, of course, about the role of women. Why are there, three brothers? Is that a little bit trite? Why is there a sister in there? Patience. That's only half the story. The role that women play in the lore of this game, incredibly important. But last night, you only saw half of the veil. More to come. Don't worry, this is not just a male-dominated fantasy game. If you've seen what I've talked about with the depths, about the post-apocalyptic world, about the differences in this game with so many other typical high fantasy laws, there's something coming, and it should be interesting. And now, time for my BSC idea for Stealth. Again, this is just an idea, not a guaranteed implementation. This is what I want to propose to our backers and to the people who are sitting on the fence about this project, as well as to any stealthers who might be interested. It's time for the Stealth reveal. BSC edition. Bat, guano for the kids in the room. Crazy. Now, this isn't the first idea that I had for Stealth, and frankly, it may not even be the best idea. I think it's a really interesting idea. I think this is something that I hope most stealthers will get behind, as well as our backers. We've been talking about this idea inside CSE for quite a while. Now, for those who are wondering what these papers are, if you've seen all my updates, I work unscripted. That's sometimes good and sometimes not so good. However, there's so much to cover today. I wanted to make sure that I had it all in front of me because I really don't want to miss anything. Stealthers. Those of you who played Dark Age of Camelot, you know that we had a pretty robust implementation of that mechanic. It had a lot of, very interesting features. It was very popular for quite a while, but it also had some, issues. There were some bugs in it, some absolute design errors, like, easy on stealth plus long range one-shotting, not a great idea. However, over the years, obviously back at Mythic, we modified it, whether you want to call that balancing, improving, nerfing, however you want to look at it, stealth became an even more viable mechanic, at least for most people. Now, stealth is something that has, a lot of emotion built into it. People who get killed by stealthers, many of them get very angry. People who get killed, especially by groups of stealthers, tend to get even angrier. Stealthers, on the other hand, many of them love it. They love playing solo. They love the challenge. They love the thrill. But they don't like being called, you're just playing the game on easy mode. And all those things that you see on forums, and even that we get in, emails and comment sections, as well as other methods of information dissemination to the team that makes the game. It's a mess. And no matter how you slice it, stealth is controversial. And that's the problem. How to deal with a controversial system like stealth in a game like Camelot Unchained. After all, this is a niche game. We've said no hand-holding. We've said that this is going to be not a game of conveniences. It's going to be a game where you're going to have to work for your success. It's a game that is purely focused on RVR. How to fit stealthers into that mix, that's where the idea comes in. So let's just get one thing clear. I like stealthers. I've played stealthers. Played stealthers in a number of games. So, anyone who thinks that, oh, MJ hates stealthers is so not true. What MJ hates is all the problems that tend to go along with stealthing. And that's something that when we thought about doing this game, and then it became more of a reality, I looked at that and went, boy, is this going to be worth the effort? It's a decision that we did make with Warhammer, of course, and the stealthing system there was very different from the stealthing system in Dark Age. I wanted to find a way to put stealthing in the game. I absolutely want to play one myself. And what it really boils down to is, the various issues that occur with stealthers. For example, a lot of potential stealthers, they want long-duration stealth. They want to be able to either sit and wait for the victim or move around in stealth. Obviously, that's something that's really hated by a lot of the victims of stealth, as well as other people. A lot of stealthers hate moving slowly in more modern implementations of stealth. Obviously, we did that in Dark Age as well, but you could get abilities that would allow you to move faster. I myself, I hate moving slowly. I do think that that's a mechanic that works in some games, not necessarily the one I wanted to implement here. A lot of the stealthers I've talked to and a lot of the comments I've seen on forums indicate that most stealthers don't want an easy mode. They want the challenge. They want to succeed, because after all, no one really wants to lose. But they don't mind a more challenging stealth. Whereas a lot of the detractors, all they hear is stealth and say easy mode. In Camelot and other games, a lot of stealthers really didn't want to participate much in RVR. On the other hand, you had stealthers who thought, hey, RVR, stealth, fabulous. Getting killed by a stealther no one enjoys. But a lot of players, as I said earlier, really hate getting killed by gang squads of stealthers, or even just multiple stealthers working together. Finally, easy on stealth. That's something that's generally mocked, as you folks know, in the community as being, again, easy mode. The idea that you could simply push a button, vanish in broad daylight, especially, in a world of fantasy, though, of course, one would argue magic versus tech, why not? But it is something that a lot of people don't like. So, looking at all this, and these are only some of the problems, obviously, in any stealth implementation, looking at this was something that we had to do when we sat down here as a studio and talked about, a stealth implementation. As I've said in the comments section to guys like, Peter and Ryan and Brandon, I'm not looking just to implement Dark Age of Camelot stealth mechanic. Frankly, it's been done before. And then it's also been done by a lot of other devs who had tried to come up with either their own variant on it or, a slightly dumbed down version, or in some cases a very dumbed down version. I wanted to see if we could come up with something better, and more importantly, something that really fits our game, something that fits the concept of no hand-holding, the concept of chaos, risk-reward, and most importantly, the concept of the veil. The veil, a term that plays such an important role in the lore of Camelot Unchained. When we first talked about it, there was some negative reaction. Oh, sounds kind of fluffy, maybe even a little trite. But as you guys have heard from last night, it's far more than a piece of interdimensional detritus. This is a living, sentient being. This is something that infuses our world with magic. It's in the depths. It is so important to this game and to the lore. Now, how to make that fit with stealth? And that's when the light bulb went on over the head of Wart. That's when I had this idea, hey, let's combine the two. Let's make stealth and the veil intertwined. So, what if we use the veil as a different world for stealthers? What if being in the veil allowed our stealthers to move both at normal speed and sometimes at heightened speed through it? What if the veil is this mechanism, this different dimension, this different world, this different body, where the stealthers could operate essentially on a slightly different plane of existence from the rest of the game? And what if, because they're in the veil is a little bit pissed off? I mean, after all, it's not had a good, few millennia. From the serious piercing that led to the destruction of our world, to being in a situation it is now, it is not happy. On the other hand, it is also very powerful. So if we allow stealthers to operate inside the veil, that would present a lot of challenges to them. Because see, the veil, because it is living, has its own defenses, just as our body has its own defenses. And when you're in the veil as a stealther, that's where the interesting part really begins. So the challenge became, how can we implement a system using both the veil and stealth so our players could hunt solo, while at the same time discouraging gank groups, but also allow them, if they chose, to engage in RVR and be very useful in RVR other than just hunting individuals. To make this work, I thought of the concept of veil walkers and veil stalkers. As the name suggests, a veil walker is a player who can, walk through the veil. Within the veil, they get new powers, new abilities. They can do things that they can't do in the real world. But it is a different world. It isn't an exact clone of our world. And that's part of the BSC idea. That here we are trying to make a game on one dimension, and now I'm also adding another dimension, and maybe even other dimensions beyond that. The walker walks through the world. He can walk through at normal speed. He can walk through at heightened speed. The walker, he can also learn to harness the defenses of the veil, use them for his own, purposes. The veil walker is dangerous within the veil. Outside the veil, not as much. Inside the veil, deadly. The challenge, how do you keep this class balanced? How do you make this walker something other than OP? Well, to begin with, within the veil fights back. I've already talked about how it is a sentient being. So think of its defenses much like, for those who saw the old 1960s film Fantastic Voyage, where the antibodies attack the sub and attack anyone outside. That's one way the veil can fight back. The veil can also fight back through the use of spirits. If you die within the veil, you can become, or your spirit can become, an NPC. You don't die, it's not permadeath, we do have the immortal bit, but part of you is left behind, and you have to deal with that. Also, being in the veil does take a toll on you. The longer you're in the veil, the worse that toll can be. This is not a way to get around long duration. Don't worry, you can be in there for a while. But if you think you can just go into the veil and sit somewhere for a couple hours, make a sandwich, everything's okay, that's really not how it's going to work. And that's only one part of the challenge for those who walk within the veil. Within the veil, again, very powerful, but the veil is pissed. And the longer you stay in the veil, or more walkers that also come in the veil, the more angry it gets, especially when those walkers stay close to each other. So if you're thinking about, I'm going to use this veil and we can form our group and we'll go in there and we'll work together and be really close to each other, while we do things, it can't work that way. Being close to other stealthers, especially stealthers within your own realm, makes the veil even angrier. So is it possible you could get together a group and actually be powerful enough to fight off the veil's defenses for a while? Maybe, but it will come at a pretty high price. And frankly, there are other things hunting you besides the veil. So the walkers and the stalkers, you're two sides of the same coin, just like the veil has two sides. And I will talk more about the walkers and the stalkers in future updates, but stalkers, don't worry. Your mechanics have to be interesting as well, because without you there, then the stalkers run, roughshod. So no worries. Future update, after we fund, we will talk more about the stalkers. And frankly, there's a lot of stuff to think about. and I hope you like what you've heard so far. So what do you get for all this risk? Great power? Absolutely. Better movement speed? Absolutely. A game within a game, and a challenge like no other challenge within MMOs for you stealthers. It does come at a price. It does come at a risk. Our stealthers, our Veil Walkers, they won't make great scouts. While they can move very quickly, archers with camouflage will probably make better scouts. For those who are looking for a class where you just can go into stealth, come out, go stabby stabby, or stun lock and win, this is not the class for you. Also, there is no easy on button for stealth with the Veil, so it can't be used as an escape mechanism, you know, if your overpowered openers didn't work. There's also, with the restriction on the number of Veil Walkers that can be close to each other, there's also far less of a chance of group stealthing going on within the Veil. This is a non-traditional approach to stealthing. And it isn't the first time something like this has been tried before. I'm certainly not saying that. But when you look at all the things that play into it, it's a pretty unique idea and more than a little BSC. However, the BSC train, it's still going full speed. And let's liven it up a little bit more, because now I'd like to talk about the Veil Stalkers. These are players that sit outside the Veil. They can't enter the Veil themselves, but their job is to hunt the walkers, to protect, you know, those who can't fight back against them, to help protect areas, to help ensure that RVR areas or RVR structures have a better chance to resist the walkers as they try to either pass through them or pass over them. But wait, there's still a little bit more. So earlier I said that the Veil Walker's power really comes from the Veil and is really useful within it. There are a couple of exceptions, and this is one of them. So let's say there's a Stalker waiting for our poor Walker, throws up some attacks, prepares some traps. The Walker sees what's happening, and through what the Stalker did, through the traps that the Stalker set, the Veil Walker's power can now leave the Veil. Think of it as a giant feedback loop. The Stalker sets something up, puts in some traps, throws in some power, and whether you think of this as a bit of, what did Einstein say? Spooky effect between connected atoms, sort of the same thing here. That trap, that power, allows the Walker to use his power outside the Veil back to the Stalker. Kind of interesting, kind of different. And that's pretty much it for now. Okay, Stealthers, let me know what you think. Is this BSC? Is this fun? Is it folly? I've read and talked to so many people who are interested in stealth, as well as people who aren't interested in stealth, who are scared about it. They're scared about, you know, wandering gank groups, or just scared about getting killed without having any chance to react. That's why we put in this system. It is a different mechanic. It is a very challenging one. But for the stealthers who really want to solo, for the stealthers whose idea of a challenge is not simply waiting for somebody who's much weaker than them, and then, again, stun lock, stabby, stabby, however you want to look at it. If you're looking for that, wrong system. But if you're looking for a system that is being designed just for the stealthers, so they have their own minigame, so they have a challenge like no other MMORPG, this is the system for you. And now you have your chance. If you want this system, it's easy. Let us know. To use a very famous and kind of trite line, the phone lines are open. You believe in this concept, Stealthers? Vote with your wallet. Support our pledge. Let us know that this is something you're interested in. Backers, if you don't like this idea, now's the time to talk to me. Certainly, we'll be in the comments section for, at least another 6 days. I want to know what you think. Is this interesting? Is this crazy? Is it folly? I love it. I think it's interesting. The studio thinks it's interesting, and this is only part of what we want to do with it. But now, it's up to you. Support us if you like it. If you don't like it, tell us why. That concludes Stealth, the BSC edition. Things are going great. We've had 3 wonderful days, and when we fund, this is one of the things I want to talk again to our backers about. But stealthers, here's your chance. For me, I'm looking forward to playing that. So for now, it's time for me to say, I'll see you in the Vale.